It's time for a little comedy, a little content, and a lot of conversation. It's the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube. And now here's your host, Geno Jones.
Hey, it's showtime and it is go time. Yes, it is time to get to work, the Geno Jones Show. So listen, I come to you live Monday through Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 in Chicago, 3:30 p.m. live in Los Angeles. Tell everybody you know, as Nelly would say, everybody to subscribe to this channel, the Geno Jones Show YouTube channel. Subscribe, share, screen grab, rip some of the video, make it go viral, because oh yes. Oh, this is one for the archives. This is one for the Smithsonian, the Black Smithsonian Museum. Subscribe, share, screen grab, like, binge watch all my back episodes, and please, yes, I really want to see your comments in my comments section. And I welcome all comments. I want to see what you have to say, because you really are going to want to see and hear what I have to say coming up. But first, let me just start off. Because I know a lot of people were probably wondering what was I going to say? What do I have to say? How was I feeling? I'm just going to keep it simple because we're going to take a deeper dive later, but I got a guest coming up. He's got a film festival called the Afro-South Film Festival here in the Charleston, South Carolina Metro. This is their third year doing it, third annual. So you're going to meet my friend Jason Gordine shortly. But first, let me just say this. Listen, there's so many emotions, anger, disgust, fear, just despair. Nah, we're not going to do that. Because we know who we are. We know who we came from. We understand our journey. And regardless of the outcome of the election, we collectively as a culture and as a community, as black people, have incredible power. Now you're saying, well, Geno, how can you say that? Yeah, well, you know, old boy got back in the White House. We have incredible power. We have to step into it and we got to realize it. We have a spending power somewhere close to $2 trillion. So today's theme, the mantra of today's show is for us, by us. That was the name of a black-owned apparel company. As a matter of fact, the brother Damon John, who you see on with Mark Cuban, the Sharks, whatever they're called, that show, their company was called FUBU. And it was really an acronym. So each letter stood for a word. For us, by us. FUBU. That's got to be our motto right now. That's got to be our principle. That has got to be the assignment. We have to stand 10 toes firmly planted in the ground, standing on complete, total, absolute business. That we got to be for us, by us. We have to invest into each other. We have to support each other financially, support each other's business, and whatever skills, talents, gifts, platform, celebrity, reach, influence, wisdom, knowledge, game, whatever it is. Now is the time to where we have to come together like the Black Avengers and put it all together for the benefit of the culture and the community. We can't worry about anybody else. Right now, all we got is us. And really all we need. But now's not the time to tap out, even politically. We'll have that conversation later. But there's strength in numbers. If you try to punch somebody with your fingers like that, you'll break a finger. But when you bring those fingers and close a fist, it has a lot of power. All right? For us, by us. That's got to be the motto. I want to paraphrase a quote from Fannie Lou Hamer, iconic, legendary civil rights leader. And she said, I'm paraphrasing, you and I are attached and bound by chains of freedom. And until you're free, I'm not free. So as long as all of us are not free, one of us being free is not going to free all of us. That's the attitude that we got to have. We are not free as an individual until we are all free collectively as a community. So I'm going to get into that later. I want to bring up my guests to shift the energy because I'm excited. And once again, standing 10 toes down on business means supporting financially, investing in, platforming black-owned businesses unapologetically. Now's really the time. Sometimes, it takes a shock to the system to get you to do the right thing that you probably should have been doing all along. I digress. The third annual Afro South Film Festival is coming to Charleston, South Carolina, Thursday through Sunday. And my guest is the man bringing this festival to this beautiful city. As a matter of fact, let me bring him on camera. Brother Jason Gourdine, filmmaker. Jason Gourdine, welcome, brother. Thank you for coming on today. You and I talked about it about 2 weeks ago. We set this up, so I appreciate you coming on, man. And so listen, let's jump right into it. Talk about the film festival if you want to. You can kind of give us the origin story and the journey, but tell us because you got a lot going on, films, other events. So the floor is yours, brother.
Appreciate it, man, and thanks for having me on. Great monologue. Love how you set that up.
Thank
We're
you.
actually going to keep that energy. I like how you're talking because what you said, a lot of what you said kind of encompasses what Afro South is and why we're here. Afro South is a film festival put on by our founder, Ricky Taylor. Ricky Taylor has been a South Carolina ETV producer for some years now, and he approached me about in 2017, I think, just with an idea for a film festival. We kicked the can down the road for a couple of years, and one day we said, let's do it. So we got it going back in 2021. And here we are in 2024 on our third bout out. And like you said, man, it's one of those things for us, by us. We're in Charleston, man. A lot of our stories, a lot of our fable and folklores come from this area. We are a griot type community. We're big in story, and we want to keep that tradition alive. And we're in a new media kind of wave, social media, everything is digital now, everything is video centric. The filmmaker's voice is strong. So for us to be able to keep our stories alive, keep our advocacy alive through filmmaking, that's what Afro South is all about. It's about those Southern roots stories that we want to keep alive and keep telling. So that's where we come in at.
So we got, let's see, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Now tell us, I'm assuming, I don't like to assume, but you'll tell me, I'm sure you got films that are original films. I don't know if you're going to do some retro. So tell us exactly the movies that we're going to be seeing, maybe some of the actors and some of the other events that you got that's part of the festival.
Yeah, so we're gonna lay it out. So we're starting off on Thursday. Thursday we have a sponsored event with South Carolina ETV. We're calling it the Gullah Roots of Rhythm and Jazz. So I don't want to get in trouble with my Louisiana people, but we're about to start taking credit for the jazz influence that we've put down here coming from Charleston. Jenkins Orphanage was huge in the jazz space back in the day.
Really?
And
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, like they had a band. People would come from all around the world to hear them. They traveled all around the world, playing everywhere. Like there was a big influence coming out of that Jenkins Orphanage band. So we have a film that's through South Carolina ETV that we're going to discuss and explore those origins that came through Charleston, those Gullah roots that came through it. The Gullah culture is a very strong culture. Of course, you know that.
Yes.
And a lot of our American culture came from there. And we're going to spend Thursday night exploring that, talking about that, and really digging down deep in that. Now, Friday, we started something called the Creative Kitchen. This is for our young kids. I was interested in film at a very young age down here in Moncks Corner, but there was no avenues for me to explore those passions. So when Ricky came up with the idea for the Creative Kitchen, I thought it was a great idea so that we can introduce film and filmmaking, and not just the art of it, but the business of it too, and how you can actually make a living in that, but introduce that to youth in a very, and we'll get to this later, but a very burgeoning film industry here in Charleston for them to be able to take part of once they get of age. So that's a creative kitchen. And at that, we have a pitch competition where the kids actually get to pitch their idea for a chance to get their film made and have financed by the Indie Grants that's actually sponsored by the South Carolina Film Commission and the Indie Grants organization. So that's one of the cool things. And we have Sanford Green, who was a South Carolina legend himself. He's a big time animator. He brought back the Black Panther comic book series. He's like the one of the lead designers on that Spider-Man multiverse movie. He's going to be there to kind of talk to the kids about what he does. So that's Friday. We're looking forward to Friday. Oh, that's Friday morning. Friday night is going to be a good time. That's pretty much our opening night. We're gonna have a salute to the Wiz. We all know the Wiz. That's a classic in our community, of course.
Yes.
And the group that's going to come in and share some of their own interpretations of some of the songs. That's there. And that's going to be hosted by comedian Akintude. I know y'all remember Akintude for Comic View. Great, brilliant comedian that's going to be joining us. And then, of course, Saturday is going to be our day of screenings. We have a lot of amazing films from all around South Carolina and North Carolina, actually. You'll recognize a lot of faces. I don't want to do too many spoilers, because especially how they include people in there you don't expect them to show up in these films.
Okay.
But there's a lot of familiar faces that we all seen before on screen and TV. But what's also cool, Gino, is that you end up seeing folks from around the way, just from around Charleston, Columbia, area. Like, I know that person. They're very, very talented. They're in this movie. So we're looking forward to that. And then, of course, at the end of the day, we have a producers panel, which is going to feature some big time producers out of Hollywood. BK Fulton, who happens to be one of the producers on The Wiz on Broadway, he's coming in. And then Miss Effie Brown. Effie Brown's a producer on Dear White People and on The Inspection, that had a lot of Golden Globe attention last year. And I'm actually working on her for the past couple of years on my latest project. But they're coming in along with Sanford Green and Akintunde again to give a whole producers panel to give the game on what's happening in Hollywood. So we know that the summer was a great upheaval in Hollywood.
Yes.
But to give everybody game out what's going on there, get everybody familiar with the industry, and give us some more insight on how we take our dreams to a reality and our passion into a business.
And the Sunday, does it end Sunday? Do you have any events scheduled for Sunday?
Yes, Sunday's our wrap-up day. So we normally on Sundays, we just have a morning breakfast where we all get together, fellowship, kind of networking for a little bit before everybody takes off, exchange numbers, exchange ideas, however you want to do it. But that's just our last kind of farewell day that we all do with each other.
Now let everybody know exactly where the festival is going to be and how to get tickets, and I guess all your social media contacts. If there's a phone number, share all that with us.
Yeah, so of course on Thursday we're going to be having this Gullah Roots of Rhythm and Jazz at the Charleston Visitor Center. That's going to take place there at 7 o'clock on Thursday. On Friday night we are having the Salute to Comedy and Song, and that's going to be at 7:30 p.m. at the American Theater. And then of course on Saturday all of our screenings will be at the 360 Concord Street. And that's the Harbor Walk building right there by the aquarium out there.
Okay. Yeah.
And you can find all the information, all the tickets on afrosouth.com.
Okay, afrosouth.com. All right, good deal. So this weekend now, don't say that you don't have anything to do, because now you got something to do for the entire weekend. Go down there and support Jason Gourdine, see some great films, any aspiring filmmakers or maybe actors or actresses. This would be a great place to do some networking and meet some people and just get some. They say it's not what you know a lot, is who you know. So I'm sure this would be a great networking opportunity. So, well, cool, Jason. Let's do something, because she's near and dear to both of us. Big shout out to Joan Robinson Berry and her husband Chris, because Joan put us together. So Joan is family. I love Joan. My family, we love Joan and her family. She is always supportive when it comes to, when I talked about at the beginning of the show, supporting us as a community and always pouring into people, investing money, time, wisdom, encouragement, being the wind beneath their wings. Since I met Joan has always been 10 toes down. supporting her community and her culture. So that's one of the many reasons that I love her. She's a sister by another mother. So I just wanted to shout her out. And I know because she put us together, you and I together. So
Yeah. She's been active for a while, man. Even before this festival, she's always whatever she can do to help me. She's always been there. So I love Joan as well. I'm right there with you.
So big shout out to Jones. So all right, Jason, my guest joined me.
Yeah.
So we did a like a recap. So
Yeah.
Sean is our legal expert. He is a political. He's my political one of my main political. What's the term? Correspondent.
Contributor.
Contributor.
Analyst.
I was going to use. He's all of them. Contributor. You name it. A correspondent with the whole 9 yards.
I want to congratulate Jason on what you're doing, brother, because I'm also a professor of communications at Chicago State University.
Okay.
And I definitely would like to connect you with several of our professors that also do films. And
amazing.
So maybe they can our students enter film festivals, all types of things. So this is a blessing to meet you. I wish I had met you when I was living in Charleston. Because I wish I was in Charleston this weekend, not only for the food, but your festival sounds awesome. And so I wish you the best. And I hope to get on that mailing list because I will make it a vacation trip just to come to your festival in the future.
There you go. Look what you're doing, Geno Jones. You're making connections from Chicago.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. I'm definitely going to make that connection. But anyway, like I said, Sean is our legal expert and my main political contributor to the show. So we did like a really, 3.5 hours, 6:30 to 10. We were live, kind of giving people updates. So it's the day after. So Sean, listen, I'm about to throw it to you to get your take, but I just want to kind of put a bow on the opening part of the monologue.
Yeah, definitely.
Like I said, listen, and I get, because I've had a range of emotions. I didn't sleep. My daughters are upset. My daughter in Portland, she called me. I talk to her all the time, but the conversation we had, we like never have, because she's not really, it's not that she's not into politics. She's a filmmaker also, Jason. I had to tell you about my daughter. She's been doing documentaries and commercials. As a matter of fact, there was a Nike runner commercial during the Olympics where they had a lot of people in Nike, just like regular people in like Nike running shoes, running in the rain and in different environments. So she was part of that team.
Oh, that's cool, man.
But here's the bottom line. Denny Green, so for those sports fans out there, Sean knows where I'm going. Denny Green was a coach for the Minnesota Vikings. Then he wound up coaching the Arizona Cardinals. So they played a game against Sean's favorite team, because the ownership, that's a whole nother story.
Yes, I'm a Bears fan. It's okay.
Yeah, and then listen, I'm from Chicago. I root for the city, but the ownership is problematic. Just see the Reinsdorf family, and the White Sox lost 121 games. Sell the team, sell the White Sox and the Bulls. I digress. But Denny Green, in a news conference after a game, so his Arizona Cardinals clearly were a better team than the Chicago Bear team that they played at the time. And Denny Green just kind of went into this legendary rant. He's like, they were who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook. And he's banging on the table.
And I've been getting that from a lot of Black people when it comes to election, that the MAGA and the Republican and a lot of their white neighbors and friends are who they thought they were. When we look at the numbers, white women are who we thought they were. White men are who they thought they were. Latino men are who we thought they were. Now, Black men didn't necessarily turn out in areas the way, but I don't think this should be thrown at the feet of Black men.
No.
I think that's an internal problem that we should be addressing now moving forward. In other words, I'm already starting to put together something where we need to start having roundtables in cities with these young Black men and actually ask them what issues do they see? Because we can see an issue from the outside and we're learning it may not be an issue to them, or maybe we see it from a perspective and not seeing it. So that's one area. But I'm also saying we need to do the same with Latin men, and we need to do the same with white women. Because there's something we're missing in these elections that is causing these individuals to vote against their own best interests, and with Black men just stay at home. And so we need to address that, not telling people who to vote for, but more of getting to the real issues. And what I'm hearing a lot from Black men in particular is, I don't feel like the Democratic Party speaks to me until it's election time.
Well, and a lot of people make that complaint, so that's.
Yeah, but I'm speaking particular. I get that, and no disrespect, but we do that. We always say, well, a lot of people. No, when you're talking to a voter and they're telling you about them, they don't feel like there are a lot of people. I'm telling you about me, and so I think to stop constantly kicking this can down the road like we do after every lost election, it needs to be addressed immediately. And it needs to be cultivated, because in some of those voices, even though they may not be as educated or as informed as we are, they have real issues that they don't feel like they're being addressed. And then when you have IQ 45 stand up there and insult people and come off as this strong person, if those men feel insecure, unrecognized, they're going to gravitate towards that.
And what's ironic, Sean, let me just, on that point though, because some of the whole MAGA cult, some of their storyline was like, well, no one's seen us, and the elites look down on us, and the whole 9 yards. So it's interesting how that same kind of thread can cross all kind of ideology.
Oh, yeah.
But for the record, let me just for the record, here are the receipts in terms of who voted for who. White men voted for 59% of white men voted for Donald Trump. These were numbers. I kind of cross-referenced a couple sources, NBC News and some other. CBS had similar numbers. White women, once again, 52% of white women in America voted against their own health interest. In Georgia, I heard 69% of white women voted against their own interest. Black men, I've seen numbers somewhere between 14, 15. I saw one poll of like 20%. So even a worst case scenario, 80% of black men voted for freedom and democracy.
Yeah.
Black women, 92% voted for freedom and democracy. Latino men, 54% of them voted for oppression and autocracy.
That's a troubling number. And not to interrupt you, but I feel like I got to say this, because when he talks mass deportation, he doesn't have a plan for that. He doesn't even have a concept of a plan for that. He just plans on sending the military in to gather people. And so what's going to happen is some people that are not Hispanic, some people who are not from Mexico. Here's the other thing. Newsflash, everybody who's Latin and Hispanic is not from Mexico. They're from roughly 40 different countries around the world.
They are not a monolith. You're right.
No, right. And the real question with the mass deportations is, are we going to include illegal over visa staying Russians and Eastern Europeans? Because that's a problem that nobody ever talks about. When we talk about immigration, the face is always brown people, and to some extent now Haitians, Black people. We never talk about white people who come from Europe and other countries around the world and overstay visas. And people from quote unquote Middle East, Saudi Arabian, who have money and do the same thing. People do that from around the world because our immigration system, it's broken and there's no accountability within it. In other words, whether you're here legally on a visa, there's no tracking to make sure you leave when that visa is up unless you're connected to an employer or a school. Other than that, it's a free-for-all in this. And what I don't like about the immigration argument, it's always pointed at people of color when it's an immigration issue that's broader as a whole. And then the other dynamic we don't talk about is we need immigrants because right now we've got one of the best economies in the world, And
we don't
have enough people to fill the jobs. And I know people say, well, I know somebody looking for a job. Okay, do they want to pick cabbages? Do they want to work in Burger King? Because you're right, there are plenty of jobs. But what's going to happen is those highly skilled jobs are going to start being taken over by immigrants. But they're not going to be the quote unquote what we label as illegal. They're going to be those folks from India, those folks from Eastern Bloc countries, from Russia. And we're not going to address any of that because the Republicans have done an outstanding job of framing immigration as illegal aliens who are from brown countries, and Trump has amplified that message. Right. And Black folks have bought into that message along with some Latin people. And I'm not saying all Black folks, but if you sit down at Thanksgiving and talk to your family, some of the first things I hear from my lower educated family members is the Mexicans are taking all our jobs. And I look at them and say, what?
What job?
I'm looking for a Hispanic person that's a lawyer to work at the firm I work for because of social justice issues, and they're hard to find. So what are you talking about? They're not absolving any jobs. Right. It's this messaging that the media and the maggots are good at doing.
And no Americans are lining up to take those agricultural jobs, working in hospitality and in hotel rooms and all across America. So Sean, let me just, I want to put a bow on my prescription, and then I want to let you take the floor. And Brother Jason, feel free to give us your feedback. But
yes, Jason, your family, please jump in. We'd love to hear all.
Oh, I told him. Yeah, he knows.
Yeah,
but so here's my prescription. Like I said, we got to be 10 toes down, for us, by us, collectively, as a community. Now, every Black person is not going to be on board. We know that. Some folks, could be, covert operatives. If you saw Judas and the Black Messiah. But here's the bottom line. There are millions of Black Americans that have been having these conversations. I've had them with both of my daughters who initiated the conversation. There are conversations all across America among Black people. And the numbers will back up what I'm saying. 92% of Black women, at least 80 to 85% of Black men voted for freedom and democracy. So what does that mean? That means that we have to start it. You can't worry about anyone else, Sean and Jason. We got to focus on us. We have to invest in each other financially. We have to support each other's business. We have to support each other mentally, spiritually, emotionally. We have to, listen, we have to stand 10 toes down if we are in a position to support a Black-owned business or connect two people like I'm connecting, Sean, you and Sean, Jason. We have to invest. Instead of taking $20,000 and blowing it at a strip club, and then that's your thing, but I'm just saying, time out for, as my grandfather would call it, foolishness. All right, we have to go ahead and be willing to take $10,000 or $20,000 and invest in somebody. We have to be our own venture capitalists and SBA, Small Business Association. And it's enough of us that's got the capital to where we can do that. We can do that and make it happen. We are really all we need, but these are the conversations, and hold each other accountable. And listen, whatever gift you have, whatever skill, whatever talent, whatever celebrity, whatever reach you have, influence, platform, business, resources, knowledge, wisdom in every industry. Now is the time to come together like the Avengers. I said the Black Avengers, because we all we got. And it's clear, like Danny Green said, they were who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook. So now it should be clear. Nobody's coming to rescue us but us, for us, by us, because we are really all we need, but we got to stand 10 toes down and hold each other accountable. So whatever gifts and blessings and resources that you have, if at the end of the day you're not using that to benefit the culture and the community, then we need to have a conversation. And if you're not with the program, bless your heart. As my grandson said, bless his heart, bless our heart. But, you can't stay here. So long, baby, bye-bye. If you see the light, you can always come back home. But if you come home, there are conditions. There's going to be accountability. You got to contribute something to the cause and the culture. So that's my spiel. Sean, go ahead. You and Jason take it.
Definitely. I want to hear from Jason because he's on the ground with artists and brothers that's working. So I know he knows.
Yeah, absolutely, man. See, when I approach these conversations, I always look at it from an economic perspective. Like we are aware that while we have a lot of spending power in our community, we don't have a lot of wealth. And that's one of those things that always keeps us kind of at the bottom, where we're always the ones having to partner with somebody else or coalesce or form a coalition with somebody else. And we know a lot of times when that happens, we're normally left behind because without wealth, there's not much power. So I do like the idea about we gotta bring ourselves together. We gotta be for us, by us. We gotta invest in each other's businesses. At the same time, I try to keep in mind that I know a lot of us are like one emergency away from poverty. Most of us don't have $400 out of bank account if emergency comes up. Like we are really in some desperate straits as a community. But like you said, this is the kind of stuff that this is how we have to start speaking. We have to start speaking in a way where we're encouraged to empower each other and join together economically. Like you said, we might not have $20,000. A lot of us don't have $20,000. A lot of us don't. But
a lot of us do, Jason. And I'm speaking to them. It's a lot of us that's got it, and they spend it on, and you got a right to spend your money however you want to. But at what point? Because that Fannie Lou Hamer quote, you and I are we are attached. Brother, these chains. We are attached here. So even if you kind of get the key and break loose, you ain't gonna be free for long if you don't have no help. If you out there by yourself, it's easy for people to kind of take you down. But
we saw it. We saw it when Kamala announced she was running. We came together and raised a lot of money in a small amount of time. Now, is that enough to take us out of poverty? Might not be, but there's a girls' club, boys and girls club somewhere on Liberty Hill that can be put there, that we can put our money together. Like we saw, and I mean, I'm part of D9, so I'll take some accountability too. But we saw how the fraternities and sororities came together and raised money. I don't see that a lot down here with the alumni chapters and everything. There are things, like you said, that we can do. I'm a church kid, brother. I have been to churches where they raised really $1 million in like 15 minutes. I've seen it. So we have spaces where we can pull together some things and we can do things locally for each other. But like you said, if we're not like coalescing together, because nobody's safe with us. Like there's no land for us to go. We don't know where we came from. So we can't go run back to Kenya. We can't go run back to Nigeria. We're here. We're locked in.
And we need to connect with the motherland. That's a whole different conversation. But our ancestors toiled and tilled this land and died. My grandfather was born in 1888, Yazoo City, Mississippi, and a black man who quit school in 3rd grade to help his mother take care of him and his 2 brothers, became a tailor, lived to be almost 100, had saved up some astronomical amount of money when I was first born, something like $40,000, $50,000, which is crazy. You talking about in the 60s to do that? And never took home, according to my mother, more than $125 a week. He was working for a white person, a Jewish person that had like a clothing store, but he was a tailor. He had 2 sewing machines. But Sean, I want to come to you with this, that collectively, especially our generations, Gen Xers, millennials, Gen Xers and baby boomers, we have to pour into these young brothers and sisters. these
That's what I'm
millennials and
afraid
especially
of.
these Gen Zs. Because I'm telling you, if you just listen to the conversation that my Gen Z daughter had, they don't give a F. They are fearless. So that energy is important, but they need that energy needs to be harnessed and targeted and have it focused in the right direction. That's where we come in. The civil rights movement, it was young people. John Lewis was in his 20s, and SNCC and all those folks were in their 20s. I mean, Dr.
We need
King
to
started off, he was like a teenager.
We need to make sure we're working on that now. And the reason why I say now, people are like, oh, the election just ended, you know, decompose. And I get that. Everybody needs their own space to grieve and process it how they need to process it. But right now, there's a ton of anger and energy that can be harnessed towards planting the seeds for the future.
Say that.
The future is this. In most of the states coming up in the next 18 months is a local election. We need to be preparing for that, preparing new breed of candidates. Maybe it's time for some of the millennials and younger people to get involved in politics and start running for politics. So we need to start preparing for that. Not only that, as Jason said, if we can raise money for Kamala Harris, then we need to have community collectives that are raising capital to help Black businesses and minority businesses get off the ground. That does not exclude them asking for money from the SBA.
Yes.
And also having information to show them how to get the money from the SBA. Now, Sean, why would you bring up the SBA? Well, Donald Trump is about to be in charge of the federal government. This is also an opportunity for you to find out whether the shit show is a real shit show or the bullshit show like I think it is. Either way, it's a shit sandwich and he's not gonna give money to Black people, but you need to be asking for it. As soon as he becomes elected, especially those of you that supported this, start asking his federal government for money. Because I know the accountability on Obama about, well, I couldn't do this more during Obama, but the numbers don't bear out that. Or I couldn't do this under Biden, the numbers don't bear out that. So I wanna see you ask Donald Trump's SBA for the money, all right? Because if you voted against this woman in support of Donald Trump that he could do better, then hold his ass accountable. And look, here's the great thing about America. Even though I didn't vote for Donald Trump, I can hold his ass accountable. So I got my list that I'm gonna go to his SBA and ask for. And then when they don't give it to me, I got receipts to say, I told you that he was who he said he was. And now, to quote my younger kids, because my kids speak very open, we finna fuck around and find out. And how do we get there? By holding his feet to the fire. So, you know me, I talked about should Madam Vice President become president, I was gonna hold her feet to the fire. Well, guess what? I'm gonna hold his as soon as I light the grill with my charcoal in a pyramid and I soak them in lighter fluid. As soon as I throw the match, I'm putting Donald Trump's feet on the fire because everybody keeps saying he's a great businessman. We're gonna test that.
We're gonna find out.
He's a good politician. He's joking. He doesn't want to be dictator. We're finna find out. You know what I'm saying? He's good for the economy. Oh, we finna find out. Right. Okay.
Which we know was all a lie because America was the only nation in the pandemic. As a matter of fact, we are the envy. This is not my opinion. Just Google The Economist. They had an article that came out maybe about a month ago. Economist, okay? So we're talking about the whole C-suite world, the CEOs and the billionaires. America's economy is the envy of the world. But you know,
and I want to say this real quick, Jason, if there's any grants for arts, apply for them right now before this administration leaves, especially for what you're doing. I've been trying to tell artists that. I've been talking to different people today because as a professor and I work for a nonprofit dealing in social justice, when the election happens, you know, I'm dealing with it myself, but I'm meeting with my students. And so my students are you know, young African-American, Hispanic kids who went out and voted. And Illinois, yes, we are in the blue wall, solidly blue. A lot of my friends say, well, I don't go down south. I don't care. I got family down south. I don't want to look up. When I hear about the young lady Amber in Georgia that died from sepsis, it touches me because I'm a father. I'm a brother.
Could have been your
daughter. I'm a nephew.
Amber could have been your daughter or my daughter.
It could be somebody I went to school with. How many times have I seen one of my friends I went to school with post that their mother passed, and it touches me because I know that person. I remember their mother as a little kid. You can't help but have empathy. That's the great thing. I'm not saying it's mutually exclusive to Black people, but we tend to have more of a community thing. I remember growing up, she lost such and such, passed away, and my grandmother be on the phone with her sisters and on the phone all day when somebody passed away. That's who we are. Don't run from who we are. We in this modern era, because of technology and money and the fact that more Black faces are in white spaces, we run away from who we are. We're community people. We're activist people. You know,
let me jump in on that.
It was
Sean.
People against Dr. King when Dr. King was doing what he did, but they weren't loud enough to muzzle out what we said we was gonna do. We down for social justice, down for change. These ninjas over here, these new ninjas over here that think they special, it's okay. Even when they got in trouble, guess what Black people do? We say, come on, you still with us.
Back in the house.
We need to get that back. Because when we're like that, then we move the nation forward. But when we're sprinting and I got this going on and I'm over here doing that, guess what? Last night happens because they splintered us. They told us that Black men didn't support this Black woman. And what did we do for weeks? We attacked Black men, saying, you need to do this, you need to do that. And at the same time, white women wasn't doing it, and Latin men wasn't doing it. And their bigger constituency, well, white men, you can't depend on them.
Nonetheless,
you know what I'm saying? They're a part of the white supremacy infrastructure. I'm not trying to I'm just speaking true. I'm a professor. I'm not making this up. They're a part of the infrastructure. And at the end of the day, they're going to protect their interests. Everybody else falls under them. White women go along because they also protect white supremacy because it's protection for them, because they've been taught that these men of color want your body. While at the same time, the white man is taking control of all women's bodies. So it's just it's a game. We've all played, we from the hood. I done shot dice, and you know you ain't gonna hit that 6, but you gonna talk crazy like you gonna hit it. That's what white people do, white men do all day. They talk about how great the economy is under Republicans, but when you go look up the information, you find out that every time we had an economic boom over the last 100 years, it's been under a Democratic president.
And those are facts that you can Google yourself right here on YouTube. You can just type that in that little search magnifying glass icon, and you can see that.
And people have been wondering why I've been so angry today, because I'm doing this again. This is the same thing that happened in 2016. It's the same thing that happened in 2004. It's the same thing that happened in 1988. It's the same cycle of people voting against their own interests, Black people being misinformed, being manipulated in pawns, and Latin people thinking because their white skin excludes them from everything that they're talking about. Latinos, Mexicans, Hispanics, you're on the menu. I'm not on the menu. You're on the menu. You're first up. So I want to see all those Latin folks who voted for him. I want to see, we're going to keep a running total. I'm going to run it as a counter on my webpage when I get it set up, called The Resistance, where it'll show how many Trump voters were deported.
I like that. I love
that. That's going to be
a
big number, because there's a lot of Latin men and Latin women that voted for him that are going to find their ass on that bus talking about, I'm an American citizen, and they don't want to hear it. And I'm going to keep a running total of that. It's going to be some Black people on there too.
Right.
Look
what he said.
Because they're going to think you Haitian because you got lights or you have pure African features. They're going to say you Haitian. Watch what I tell you. Remember I said this on November 6th, 2024.
He already said he wanted to deport the Haitians in Ohio. So that's
who are here legally.
Yes.
Who are working to revive a whole community. Without the Haitians in Columbia, Ohio, the town would be desolate. they recruited for those people. They
I
asked
forgot
those
the
people
name.
to come there.
I want to say
In a program. I wish I had the name,
it'll
and I
come.
will do better.
The town, but it's easy to Google and find. They were recruited. The business community in this town, because what happened, the younger people, the younger white kids couldn't find a job. They left, and the older white people were there, and factories and businesses were shutting down. So the economy was dead, and these Haitians came in, they filled these jobs. But anyway, that's a whole different conversation. Like I said, we are starting at home, in the house, starting with conversations with our sons and daughters and grandkids and nieces and nephews. But we have got to understand, and like I said, Jason and Sean, every black person, they're not going to be with it, and that's okay.
Every black person didn't leave with Harriet.
Right.
Remember, Harriet said she could have freed everybody if some of them knew they were slaves. Just a whole lot of black people don't know we's free now and we can participate in politics. This was a big thing when I came to South Carolina back in the early 2000s, and they were doing different things with the dome. And I used to be like, hey, we need to go down to the Capitol and protest. They'd be like, oh, no, you can't go down there. I'd be like, we's free now. We can go anywhere in this state. The only action you have to do, the blueprint, it has been the same blueprint throughout history. I ain't a religious scholar, but Jesus came into the temple and kicked out the gamblers and the money changers. That was a form of protest right there in itself. The same form of protest that we take when we take the streets and we protesting for Black Lives Matter or various rights. It's off the principle of liberation theology that says God, remember, white folks told us in Leviticus that it's okay to be slaves, that justified it. But when they taught black folks how to read, one of the earliest churches is down there in Charleston, South Carolina. Two of them are actually the first churches. They started teaching liberation Christianity, which means Jesus lifts us up out. Now, me, today, after this election, I don't really want to hear that because that's gaslighting. I'm talking about what action are we going to do right now? Jesus has inspired me to say this to y'all, that we need to get it together. We need to have home internal meetings, community internal meetings, and then black people as a whole by this time next year, internal meetings, and get a strategy as a collective. If the Democrats want to roll with it, great. If they don't, still, no matter what, we need a strategy, because what we've been doing outside of when we elected Barack Obama 2 times and a few other times, it ain't working. And some of our black folks are being splintered off because they're being bamboozled, banana in the tailpipe, misled, led astray, hoodwinked. And we need to stop that. And it starts with brothers like Jason who throw film festivals that promote who we are. Because when you know who you are and where you come from, you have a different respect for yourself. I'm from Maywood, Illinois. I was born on the west side of Chicago, but I grew up in Maywood, Illinois, the home of Black resistance. Fred Hampton. So in me, I ain't got nothing but fight in me. Like I said on Facebook earlier today, I'm going to fight until my last breath. I'm not going to give it up. And whoever with me, come along. Hopefully you come along immediately. But if you do come along, the goal is to get us together, because when we together, we move the country where it needs to be.
Like I said, and the fight is going to be so much easier when we fight together. And I'm going to say this again, and I'm going to keep repeating it, that don't focus on those that don't get it. What we need to do is focus, like the 3 of us that's on this show, focus on building that community out and find other people in the supermarket, or maybe you're riding home with your daughter or your son, or whoever you play basketball with. When you're sitting around watching football or basketball, these conversations in the hair salons and in the barbershop, these conversations need to happen. But more important than the conversations, I'm going to repeat this over and over. You got it. Children model your behavior before they listen to anything you have to say. So whatever you are teaching your kids, if you are not living it, if you are not living that, if you are not walking in that light, they're going to look, especially these Gen Zs, they will call your ass out. Well, you say this, so we have to lead by example. and focus on those who want to be free. Sean and Jason, Harriet Tubman's own brother, who she freed, went back to the plantation and back to the master. So everybody's not gonna don't get frustrated because it's frustrating. I'm saying, don't even get frustrated. Like my grandma said, bless their heart, bless their heart, bless his heart, and keep moving. And focus.
When my grandmother said that, she wasn't finna argue with you.
Yep.
She'd be like,
that was
I can remember telling white women in Jewel, bless your heart.
Yes, really.
If she didn't say bless your heart and she touched and grabbed that razor blade from in between in her brassiere, then you was in trouble. So when I heard bless your heart, that means grandmama okay, we finna leave the store.
Right, because the truth is, bless your heart, because see, my grandmother didn't cuss. So if she said that, you were getting cussed out.
Yeah.
Yeah. You basically had just got cussed out in a real nice way,
No, that was my grandmother's way of telling you leave her alone.
Yep, all that. That's right. You better go on now. I ain't studying
because we have to remember, those women grew up in the era, even when they went into department stores, they couldn't try on an outfit because the owner would tell them, I can't sell this if a black woman tried it on. So think about that. And people act like, oh, it's never going to go back to that. Who says it can't? Who says anytime, look, think about this, because this is going around Facebook. And I agree with everybody. A felon is going to be president of the United States, but a felon can't get a job at a lot of McDonald's. In some states, they can't be a barber. In some states, they can't drive trucks. Some states, you can't rent an apartment, can't own a weapon, can't join the military. But he can do all those things.
But he can be the commander-in-chief.
The chief of the military. Now, some of my white friends say, oh, those was trumped up charges and they moved it up. It's amazing how maggots and Republicans always get down into when they go through something, oh, it was abnormalities, it is. But how many black men have been arrested for simple gun possession that is a misdemeanor in most states, but upgraded to felonies? Let me help you out. The organization I work for as a lawyer actually does the research on it. So in the city of Chicago, under the consent decree of the federal government having to release these numbers, we find out that has happened over 80% of the time. That when they charge somebody with gun possession, that it's a misdemeanor, which means less than 1 year in jail. So everybody, I'm gonna give you a little legal education. When you hear the word misdemeanor, that means 1 year or less in jail and a fine usually less than $1,000, okay? Felony, which is the big one to everybody, means that more than a year up to whatever the maximum is for that particular statute. And depending on the grade of the felony, a fine of $1,000 plus up to whatever the fine is. So just so you understand, all right? So what I'm telling you is a black man in Charleston, South Carolina is driving his father's car. His father, who is a registered gun owner, leaves the gun in his car. The son gets pulled over and he gets misdemeanor possession of a handgun. And when he goes to court, the son got caught with weed at the same time. Guess what's gonna happen? It becomes felony possession of a weapon, and the weed, depending on how much it is, becomes possession with intent to distribute. That changes the whole frame of your life. So you mean to tell me that they upgraded all those felonies that Trump had, 34, for lying on forms, taking advantage, doing all kinds of business misrepresentation, that if you do it, you're going to jail. But they all moved them up to felonies. They were already felonies. Okay. So when I hear the right talk about law and order, let me just finish this. They're full of shit on law and order because what they think law and order means, I get to punish my enemies with the law.
Yes.
And if black people don't understand that, then quote Joe Biden, you ain't black, Jack.
Well, I just want to piggyback since you were talking about Mr. Orange Dude, not to mention the 34 felonies. In the civil case, he was found adjudicated of sexual assault. The judge in that case said the evidence showed him that he actually raped E. Jean Carroll. So that's on the record. from the judge. Adjudicated.
Still in classified documents, keeping them in your bathroom at your personal home. All these maggots that say they care about not being in
National
World
security.
War III. We ain't got to worry about World War III. He gave the codes and everything Russia needs to know. They ain't got to fire a shot to take us over. You know, everybody. I want to say this real quick. Michigan, she lost Michigan, and one of the key numbers she lost Michigan from is the Arab. Middle Eastern population, because they stayed home. They didn't vote for Trump, but they didn't vote for her because they don't like the current policy. What do you think, those of you that sat at home, you just really gave Gaza a death sentence?
Well, what's the little that's left of it?
Kamala Harris had a distinctly different position when it came to Gaza from Biden. She said that we're going to make sure a ceasefire is set, the hostages are returned, and there's a two-state solution. Okay? Trump has been saying Israel has a right to exist and let them do whatever they want to do. So you're staying at home, all you folks in Michigan and you special. I've been arguing with some of them on Facebook. You doomed Palestine. The Democrats didn't do it. You did during this election, because guess what? One of the first things we're going to start to see, because now Biden's a lame duck president. Israel is going to step it up. They finna go for complete autonomy, because for them, it isn't about Palestine. It's about the land.
Yes.
Having Israel extend to the sea. That's what nobody wants to talk about.
It's not
but
just
that's
Gaza,
what's been the policy of Israel since the 80s. When Arafat, when I was a little kid, watching them throw rocks and stones at tanks. I remember that. I ain't forgot about that. So I've always been an ally of Palestine. But I'm also an American citizen, and I realize that security and safety is the first step. Palestine, you need to get control of your government. You need to get rid of Hamas and become more self-governed. I know that's easy for me to say sitting in my suburban home in Illinois, but at the same time, I just went through an upset and got my hands rolled up the very next day to get out here and fight. You got to fight for your freedom. Well, all around the world, everybody that's free has fought for their freedom. Palestine is no different. You need to get rid of Hamas and take over your stuff and then fight for your freedom. I support you.
So Netanyahu really played that divide and conquer game, because he was financing Hamas even up 3 weeks before what happened in October 7th. But he was supporting Hamas to pit Hamas against basically the Palestinians in the West Bank and those in Beirut, in Lebanon. So it's the divide and conquer. So Tracy,
I'm gonna be quiet a little bit because I saw Tracy come in, and I don't want to scare Jason off, because Jason, I know he's a filmmaker.
So Tracy, here, listen. Jump on, give us your take, and you can give us your take, Houston, because I was gonna wrap it up, but we do want to get your take, especially as a woman and as a black woman. Now, I remember that Tracy said something last night, Sean, Jason, you wasn't on. And unfortunately, it was prophetic. When I asked you about white women, Tracy, you remember? You remember what you said? What did you say? Unmute your mic. Your mic is muted.
It's just not gonna happen, because they weren't gonna vote the white woman in, and they definitely weren't gonna vote the black woman in. And as much power as they say women, we do have a lot of power. We're not gonna put another woman in because she is emotional. So I was very emotional this morning when I got to work, because the country disappointed me, and that's straight up. Although I knew, I was hopeful, but I knew it was going to be a no. And to see all of those states that are normally blue, red, it was like, what the fuck? Can I say that? I mean, I hope I was able to say that, but.
Yeah, you're right, because a lot of people, millions of people are saying exactly that. and not just black folks. You're right. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. So much for the blue wall. But so listen, basically, Trace. Well, you were watching because I saw you in the chat room, and I'm just going to say this. I'm gonna wrap it up, and I want everybody, they can give us their final thoughts. It's time for action. Now, we got the blueprint, Tracy, Sean, and Jason. We got the blueprint. I mean, just think about after Reconstruction ended in 1877, where you had like black senators from South Carolina in the Senate, and everything that came after that, and the horrors and Jim Crow and the lynching and everything, not to mention just the red line and the GI Bills that black people weren't able to get because, you know, if you had the type of jobs that the majority of black people had then, that you wouldn't qualify for the GI Bill even if you served your country. My grandfather was actually in World War I. And in spite of that, I mean, Black Wall Street, even after it was burnt down, it was rebuilt only to be torn down by the government that built an interstate right through Tulsa, like they did so many neighborhoods, black neighborhoods all across America. So at the end of the day, listen, our attitude has got to be for us, by us. And all of us, everybody that's on this show, on camera, everybody watching, we all have gifts, skills, things that we can contribute to the greater good of the culture. So we got to come together like Voltron or the Black Avengers and create a standard to where we hold each other accountable, and whatever resources, be it fame, money, intellect, wisdom, in whatever fields or expertise or businesses, at the end of the day, if part of that, you know, that magic you may have, whatever it is, you need to be sharing it with the culture and the community for the greater good, because even you may be financially free, but that don't mean a thing. They can come for you too, because if you're not studying history, you know, just study what happened in Germany in the 30s. People had money and resources and all that. In one night, crystal night, one night, all the wealth, all the businesses were destroyed, the money, the possessions was taken. So strength in numbers. So Jason, man, you got any final thoughts you want to share? And then Sean and Tracy, you close us out.
Yeah, man. Yeah, like I said earlier, I always try to take it from the economic perspective, and there's a haunting year and number that scares me every time I hear about it. But 2053, they say that black wealth is going to be at zero. So we don't have a lot of time to get our stuff together. We have to really start making more demands to our politicians, local and national. We have to know what we need and what we need to do to move forward. Listen, I like a good time like everybody else. I Meg Thee Stallion at the concert, Glorilla, Cardi B. That's your thing. But I would like to see us attack our advocacy and our political life with more intention, like more seriousness, and like just let these politicians know that we're not going to keep on showing up every 4 years just to cast a ballot. We're going to need you guys to do something that's going to get us out of this holdout ring.
And I'm glad you mentioned politics. Sean, I want you, because you've worked in politics. You worked with Senator Durbin. Because one sentiment I've heard from a lot of our Gen Zers and millennials, the disappointment and the hurt, pain, the anger, the frustration, a lot of them want to tap out from the process. But I saw a conversation you had on social media. Now's not the time to tap out on this political process. Like you said earlier, Sean, and I want you to elaborate on that, expand on it, and close this out. Now's the time to double and triple down on making sure that we step into our political power.
Because I see Jason had a thought. You was going to say something before I.
Oh no, I was. It's not time to tap out. It's time to tap in.
Yeah.
Like now is the time for us to really see. Because like we saw what our voting power did in 2008, 2012. Like y'all mentioned before, we can shift this entire government whenever we want. Even if we're not voting, just our energy our energy behind a candidate, behind a political movement, that paints the world. Like that's something special that we have. So like we got to tap in and get serious about what's happening. You got, I heard somebody say, you might not do politics, but politics will do you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to add this because of to talk more about what Jason, because we have this certain style and flair to anything we do as Black people. And granted, Madam VP, graduate of Howard, member of AKA, the Divine Nine, brings some of that style and swag. So we saw the Megan Stallions and the Cardi B's, and it's great for them to be talking and encouraging people to vote because they can reach audiences that you and I and anybody on here can't reach. But that's only an aspect of the political movement. That is not confirmation that the political movement is winning, because at the same time, people can like people's music or like that they're a great actor or like what they do in entertainment, but it doesn't move them to get out of bed and go stand in line for 4 hours to vote, or go early vote on a Saturday when they're off and they work 6 days a week. You have to give them more. How do you give them more? You have to give them equity in what you're doing as a campaign. You have to give the voters equity. What did Donald Trump? We don't talk about this. He gave angry white folks, angry bro white men, equity into his campaign. What did he say? We're going to get them out of the country. We're going to take this over. He gave them equity. When you're speaking hope and change for the future, that doesn't necessarily give people equity. It gives them inspiration, but equity makes you get out of bed and go vote.
So Sean, let me stop you because I want you to give us let me jump in
while they're trying to take it away.
Yeah, hold on. Let me interrupt because I want you to model that. I want you, for people that's watching, if we're in the barber shop or the beauty salon, give us an example. Give everybody an example of what that equity conversation sounds like and looks like, and what exactly, what kind of form does that equity take in terms of action?
Well, that's the reason why I'm talking now about the end of the election, the day after. Let me back up. When President Barack Obama, the night he came on stage in Grant Park, do you know what meeting was happening at the same time? Mitch McConnell rounded up all the Republicans in his little brainstorming and said, we're going to make him a one-term president. Now, for me, while I was mad at the same time, I took notes. I said, okay. So last night, this morning, when it's confirmed, Trump's won. There's nothing we can do about that. Now, we need to figure out, as an opposition, what is the strategy? We need to start doing an assessment. The first assessment I said is, hey, your approach towards Black men and Black people in general, even though it was Kamala Harris, was flawed. So let's go and start talking to them and figuring out why they didn't come along. What I just said earlier, when we give somebody equity, we gave white women equity in this election and they still didn't vote. What was the equity to white women? We're going to make abortions legal for everybody. And as soon as it comes across my desk, I'm going to sign that bill into law. Well, white women can typically, on average, and forgive me, white women that are listening, I'm not talking about poor white women. I'm talking about what white women educated of means can travel to any of these states to go have an abortion.
Or out the country.
So it don't, right. And it's always been that way. Okay, let's be clear. It's always been that way. That's why the Republicans want to give it back to the states. Because when a Republican politician gets his white girlfriend on the side pregnant, he can fly her to wherever she needs to go and get the thing done. But for you Black, brown, and poor white women, this is punishment for having sex out of wedlock. I've heard several Republican politicians say that if you're having sex out of wedlock, these same Republican politicians, I'm willing to guarantee one of them we know was at a porn shop. And that's why he's not governor now of North Carolina. And look, white people were so upset that they didn't elect the Black dude from the porn shop and they didn't elect the Black woman, but they voted for the white man for governor. And they voted everywhere else. That paperclip needs to be notated too. See, I'm keeping receipts because what happens every 2 to 4 years, we forget how these white folks act and we expect them to fall in line because we like, everybody's saying stuff is high or all of this happening. No, they don't fall in line like that. They stick with their party until the end. And when they're tired of that party leader, then they jump. They weren't tired of Trump. They never were tired of Trump. He got more votes in 2020 than he did during this time. But just, he still got the same amount of support percentage-wise. In fact, his electoral college is going to be Ronald Reagan-esque. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. She lost blue wall states. What is that telling you? When those unions, the Teamsters didn't back her, that should be a paperclip note. That lets you know, like it's always been since the farm unions that were started during Reconstruction, that white union members don't care about Black folks' issues or racism. What they care about is protecting their fiefdom. In other words, if my industry is doing good and keeping jobs here, I don't care about the rest of the industry. Because if that was the case, you guys live in South Carolina where Boeing is king and Boeing gets away with a ton of stuff. As always, just like the biggest union for Black folks there is the Longshoremen's Union. But watch how they attack the teachers' unions, the Longshoremen's unions, and any union with a high concentration of Black people like SEIU, and watch how they treat the police union to protect policemen. So think about that. This is what I'm talking about. These are conversations we have to have because people just look at these things and hear on the news and they hear union and they think, oh, they're all unions and they're supporting this. But those unions and the newspapers strategically chose not to support Kamala Harris because that's who their boards came up. That's who the leadership of the Teamsters wanted, but the head didn't let it happen. White men, white men, white men, white men, okay? That's why I'm saying we have to get our stuff together. And what we have to do is have our political stuff so together that they join our team, not the other way around, because we have political power. We can create these coalitions before the races even start, before a candidate is even chosen. And that's where we need to be on our organization. We need to take a step. We need to instead of being reactive, we need to be proactive. We need to be educating, organizing, training, doing those things with Black people as a whole so that they're politically powerful. We don't have to give up our political power for the sake of businesses or anything. We can have political power and we can have our own independent, self-sustained businesses and communities. So those two are not mutually exclusive.
If you're looking for a political consultant, Sean Mitchell, right there he is.
I'm gonna charge a lot of money this time because you haven't been listening to me from jump. So hopefully you can afford me if you hire me.
Trenace Tracy, you want to take us home? She looks exhausted.
This was a very tough day. It was the level of righteous indignation of people talking to me today. It's the we about family, but we not about family for me.
So we got to focus on. So Trey, let me just.
We about people, but we really not. We not about all people.
Right. So let's address. That's why I say we gotta focus on in-house. That's why I said we gotta create a culture in the community where, like I said, either are you for us by us? If you're not, you're against us. It's that simple. And
so this is the thing when it comes to that. I have said that for years. Until we can learn how to respect ourselves, we cannot expect for anybody else to have any respect for us. If I can't respect me, then I can't have respect for you. And until we can get that handled in our own household, how we raise our kids, how we talk to our spouses, how we talk to our family members, then that is what it is, just straight up.
So we're doing that right now. This show is an example of these conversations. Like I told Allie in the car, there are millions of Black people across America that's having these conversations. So now we just take these conversations we got to be. It's got to be a commitment to each other. It's got to be a commitment to build this community. And it ain't gonna be built overnight, but you got to start where you are. Don't let perfect be the enemy of the good. Listen, don't be frustrated. Don't focus on people who are contrarians or think that they're just, bless their heart and keep moving and focus on like-minded people like we have here on this show and build out a community from that and let your actions speak. And like I said, invest in each other financially, support each other emotionally, spiritually, from an education standpoint. Make sure that, so the Department of Education is gone. We teach our own kids because our ancestors did that. We can open schools. Now, really you're gonna need to support these HBCUs because a significant number, Sean, you know better than me, get federal dollars. So, they're going to, I'm sure, act funny with that. So we got to stand in the breach, and you don't worry about trying to send them to Harvard. Send them to, Morehouse or Clark or Spelman or Hampton or Howard or, Alcorn State, wherever, FAMU, so many, North Carolina, A&T, Hampton, so many incredible, Tennessee State, Fisk, come on now.
Grambling.
Yes, Grambling, thank you. I wasn't ignoring y'all.
They're going to come for me.
All of them. It's so many. But you get the point. So, all right, listen. Thank you, everybody. We just, and everybody that's watching, listen, we all we got. It's clear. But we're all we need. Our ancestors had a whole lot less. And I know it's like, damn, we got to go through this again. Freedom ain't free, y'all. Freedom ain't free.
Jason, what Divine Nine fraternity are you in?
I'm a Kappa Alpha Psi.
Okay, you good people. I'm an Alpha. I'm Alpha Phi Alpha. So you cool.
All my family's. I'm the only Kappa at about 7 alphas.
So man, they give it to you, don't they?
Oh, they try.
Yeah. Well, right now, like I said, all of us, Divine Nine, those that ain't a nine, whatever, we all collectively in this moment, and there's opportunity. There's a phrase. There's opportunity in chaos. So this can really be a real huge reset. We are the smartest, best educated, highest skilled group of Black Americans in our country's history. But some of us have lost our way. So it's up to us to once again, together we stand, united we fall. And we can do this. And we can do it in joy, Sean. We can have fun with it.
I want to make an announcement. The Resistance show begins on January 21st after IQ 47. I guess he gets a bump up of 2 points in IQ. So IQ 47, when he gets inaugurated, my podcast, The Resistance, will start. And I'll tell you more about it. And obviously, we'll be doing stuff with Geno Jones show. So I'm excited. Like you said, chaos brings opportunity, and I'm gonna step in the breach and take advantage of the chaos and create my own opportunity.
We all can do something. I want you to ask yourself, there's a famous line in the movie The Untouchables, shot in Chicago. Elliot Ness, a federal agent, was trying to capture Al Capone, notorious gangster. And Elliot Ness was being thwarted because Al Capone had judges and police officers and politicians on the payroll. Sean Connery's character, who was just like a regular beat cop, but he was really wise. Kevin Costner came to his house and he looked at Kevin Costner in the eye. He said, "What are you prepared to do about it?" That's what I want you to ask yourself. Every morning, when you look in the mirror and do your affirmations, good morning, gorgeous, hello, handsome, whatever it is, ask yourself, what am I prepared to do about it?
Look for some good trouble to get into, like John Lewis. That's said. Where we're at.
Yeah.
Get into some good trouble, everybody, because that's what's next.
Trinace Carter Tracy, thank you there in Houston. Sean Mitchell in suburban Chicago, and my man Jason Gordine, everybody here in the, even if you're not in the Charleston, South Carolina metro, if you're up in Charlotte or in Atlanta, Columbia, just, Jacksonville, wherever, DC, jump on Hampton Roads, Virginia Beach, jump on 95 or whatever it is, 85, 75, and come on down to Charleston this week for this incredible, the 3rd annual Afro South Film Festival. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you guys. Now the work begins, y'all. We got work to do. I want to thank everybody for coming on the show. Let me just do this real quick, everybody. Thank you for letting me, boom, there we go, come back. Thanks for letting me be a part of your life. As always, God bless each and every one of you and especially you, God, most of all. Thank you for letting me do the Geno Jones Show live Monday through Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 Chicago, 3:30 p.m. live in Los Angeles. Shout out to everybody. I see a lot of people watching. I see a lot of comments. Great Hustle, I see you. Great Hustle 843 said, I told you so. Oh, so now, this is what I'm asking you, Great Hustle 843. You told me so. What are you prepared to do about it? Are you going to be part? Are you going to be part of the solution? Are you going to be committed to the culture and the community? And whatever skills, gifts, resources, talent, knowledge, wisdom, intellect, intel, whatever your magic is, are you willing to bring it to the table and share it and invest into the community for the collective of all of us? Because that's what time it is now. It's time for action, time for talking and told you so. So when we get through with all that is not going to advance what we need to do. Because like I said, for us, by us. It's just that simple. Either you're for us, by us, or you're not with us. But together we stand, united we stand, divided we fall. And it's been done before. Our ancestors did it in a lot worse conditions and circumstances and didn't have anywhere near the collective spending power. What, $2 trillion plus? Just black folks here in America? Come on. Like I said, we got money, but we don't have wealth. So that's a whole different conversation. So anyway, I want to thank everybody, all your comments. And leave your comments in my comment section. It's going to be interesting. I can't wait. So I want to see what everybody has to say. But like I said, time for talking is over. Maya Angelou said, when people show you who they are, believe them. So now believe the majority of America has showed us who they are. And none of us are really, if we're going to be honest, none of us are surprised. So it's not about them, it's about us. And we've got everything we need, and then some. Come together. Our old Beatles song, Come Together, huh? All right, thank you for watching. We'll see you at live Thursday, tomorrow. It depends on when you're watching. So if you're watching me Wednesday night, Thursday, or later today, depending if you're watching the recorded version of the show. Once again, subscribe, share, screen grab, rip some of the video, like, binge watch all my back episodes, and please leave your comments in the comment section. I love you. We'll see you live Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern.
Subscribe and tune in to the next episode of The Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube.